This is what you're doing. You putting pressure on me.
That was your logic?
Yes, that was my logic because every day she's saying, hey, you're a cheater, you're a cheater.
¿Qué yo dice? What I tell you?
Your Honor, can I ask Ms. Beto a question?
Yes, you may. Beto's child may...
You can buy your daughter some clothes and some shoes
Well, you
and give
asked
it to
me
her.
for money
You
to
don't
buy
have
your baby Pampers.
Okay, you only sent me
You asked me
$20.
for-
It wasn't your responsibility.
And that was all I was
should have
supposed
told
to
your
send
brown
you.
ass
All right,
man that
ladies.
was
All right, ladies.
This baby mama was absolutely sure that the defendant was her baby daddy. However, the defendant, along with his aunt, claimed otherwise and stated there were other players in the game, as well left conveniently out by Miss McKeever.
Ms. McKeever, you say you have no doubt that Mr. Arnold is your 3-year-old son Kenneth's biological father.
Yes, Your Honor.
You've requested a paternity test and are suing Mr. Arnold for $1,796 in child care expenses.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Arnold was named father by default. Apparently, the poor fella couldn't find a ride when he was called for the paternity test. So many baby daddies have ridden that same wave here that Judge Lake just snapped at the defendant's recklessness.
Why didn't you show up to the DNA
Because I
test,
don't
young
have
man?
any transportation to get to the place.
But look where it ended up. You come to court and you say, this is not my child, Your Honor, this is not my child, Your Honor. And then when I ask, did you have an opportunity to take a DNA test? Well, I couldn't get there. I didn't have no ride. We get a ride to go everywhere else we want to go.
Miss McKeever's sister came along with her to court. Now, she was the one who was currently playing the role of father in baby Kenneth's life. She provided for him, but the baby daddy's aunt was still stuck on the other players. She was positive there were others, yet she didn't know them.
Who is this
Now,
young
after
man?
2 years, now all of a sudden, my nephew is being blamed for these kids.
Who
These
is this young
not
man?
his children, because if they was, why would you name another man saying that they was the dad? But all of a sudden, you took it.
I'm asking a question. Who is this young man? Do you know?
I don't know him personally.
Who is
No,
this
I
other
don't.
young man?
He ended up going away.
Well, there was another guy indeed. The conception calendar played its part in backing up the claim of the baby mama. She sued Mr. Arnold for child support, yet the window of conception told an entirely different story.
You know, we were intimate a lot, unprotected. Now, the other young man that I was messing with, he ended up coming back home December 26th. So me and him, we messed around on that day. Around January 18th, I ended up going to the doctor because I get my 6-month checkup. The lady ended up telling me I was 6 weeks pregnant.
Ooh, the drama of this case. It made me question everything. The auntie, on the other hand, was full of revelations, and she couldn't help but wish that her nephew wasn't the father in the judge's head. Something definitely didn't add up.
If her conception time was from December the 24th until the 31st, but all of a sudden she slept with this dude on the 26th, that's kind of convenient, don't you think? I mean, that's 2 days.
Okay,
48
excuse me,
hours,
Your
that's
Honor.
real convenient. And then you decide that after this guy comes back, you're gonna tell him first that he the dad when you'd have been with Christopher all of December.
The other guy came and left the equation just like that. And bam, back to Mr. Arnold being the baby daddy. Miss McKeever had enough of the baby daddy's family, and she snapped in the middle of the court. She gave them an earful for sure.
Every time I come around him, I have a connection.
I didn't know it was another guy involved until after she came back and showed me the papers.
He's lying on that part. The time that we was in a relationship, he knew about the other guy. So it's not like I just got with Mr. Arnold and didn't tell him about this other guy.
Next up, we got to see baby daddy accepting he did indeed initially have a connection with the baby, but soon started singing another tune. The plaintiff's dam finally broke as she gave a reality check to the guy and his family.
First of all, you are 27 years old.
I mean,
you are a grown man. Why every time you have a problem or we have anything going down, you gotta run to your family members?
that's what we
Why don't you
are.
step
That's what
up
you
and
do.
be
You go
a
to your
man
family.
and worry about your kids?
Your
Because at the
sister
end of
after
the
you.
day, me and you are gonna be taking care of those kids.
Well, Miss McKeever and the defendant's aunt weren't done locking horns with each other. Oh no, their fiery feud kept going until the judge stepped in. Now she gave a needed wake-up call to Mr. Arnold in the midst of all this paternity chaos.
And it currently not so much.
I never said he
so
was
much
a bad
hatred.
person.
Hold
He's
on.
a good
Hold
man.
on.
I can go to jail for a child that ain't even mine.
If you go to jail for failure to pay support, which is a possibility, all because a bus ride with somebody you slept with.
The paternity court believed in concrete evidence, and that was the DNA result. That's what ruled here. The plaintiff and the defendant's narratives were just adding to the mess, and baby Kenneth had faded into the background. Come on, let's put him back in the spotlight, shall we?
Mr. Arnold, you are his father.
I would step up to the plate. I want to be around all my kids.
Mr. Maxson wasted no time in accusing the defendant of being a master at pinning babies on guys. Yup, but the defendant wasn't having that. Not at all. She stood her ground and claimed baby daddy needed to step up to his responsibilities.
You say you are certain that Mr. Maxson is your daughter's biological father. You are tired of being a single mother and say once the results are revealed today, you expect Mr. Maxson to man up and take care of his responsibilities. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, Mr. Gehring claimed to have no news of any baby until the baby mama contacted his mother. Unsuspecting guy for real. However, that wasn't the version Miss Gehring came up with. According to her, it went down like this.
She contacted my mom, and once I found out, I had my mom to contact her so I can get a paternity test.
Oh, so immediately upon hearing, you said, hold on, I need a paternity test.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because from the outset, you didn't think the child was yours.
Exactly, Your Honor.
You didn't tell Mr. Maxson anything about the baby until after the baby was born?
No, ma'am.
Uh-oh, plaintiff's mommy wasn't too happy with what was being said about her. Nope. She clapped back, and pretty soon, it was these guys who were talking all over each other. Poor Judge Lake couldn't even get a word in, except telling them to hold off.
His mom even came here because she was driving trucks. And I brought my baby to see her.
One at a time.
I brought my baby to see her when she came here because she was driving trucks. And she was like, oh yes, I know this is my grandbaby.
No.
So, Ms. Williams?
Jasmine contacted me and she said, I'm pregnant by your son. This was before she even had the baby. So I didn't hear anything else from Jasmine.
Apparently, these guys went way back, so much so that they used to live on the same street. Now they were just throwing shade at each other, left and right. But at some point, these guys did get intimate, and the consequences of those questions brought them here now.
Him not coming in the picture like during my pregnancy when he claimed he was going to be there, it was just too much already. So,
I don't care how much you're going through. If you want to know if that's his baby,
his mom
you would
was
say
being
yes.
two-faced it because.
Exactly.
So wait, were you all boyfriend and girlfriend when this happened?
No.
No.
Now, what brought them together? Well, it was none other than trusty old Facebook. Yep, Miss Gehring took the first step, and then the grandma's house became a fun house for them. Don't believe us? Well, hear it for yourself then.
I did contact him first on Facebook, and he came out to my grandmother's house. One thing led to another. He was at my house day and night before he went.
Wait, hold on. One thing led to another at your grandmother's house?
Yes.
Yeah. Who had sex at their grandmother's house with no protection?
No protection.
It was all fun and games then, but according to Baby Daddy, caution was not thrown to the wind entirely, and that's what made him so sure of not being the father. Prepare yourselves to be cringed at the max level, people. Don't say I didn't warn you.
It's really not about him being a dummy. It's really about his doubt.
We wasn't a couple. We was just, we'll kick it every now and then.
Having sex unprotected.
Basically.
It was, and that's a lie too, Your Honor. We was using protection. And this is another reason why I say that this child is not mine.
Next up, Mrs. Maxson came up with the argument that if the baby doesn't have asthma, she isn't theirs. And that obviously didn't sit well with the baby mama. Soon, they were at each other's throats, and the judge had to bring some order eventually.
Well, I just want to ask Ms. Gehring one question. Do your baby have asthma?
No.
Trinard has had asthma and his other kids do too. So all of a sudden, he got this one kid that don't have no resemblance and no asthma.
No resemblance. But you always call me and tell me.
When do I call you, Jasmine?
You haven't reached out
You
to my
always
baby?
reached out to
And
me.
Finally, some evidence was brought forth to factor into all this chaotic mess. Miss Gehring submitted text messages. She wanted the baby daddy to check up on his daughter, and this dude had the audacity to reply 2 months later, and that too for something else.
But what have you done for Alana?
Nothing.
Nothing. I asked her for a blood test, a DNA test. She refused. So
Well, we're about to see right now. We're going to see what you're going to do after you
So
find
hold
out
on.
that she
So
yours.
hold on. Are you saying Alana's 3 years old?
Yes,
You have done nothing for this baby.
3 years passed since baby Alana was born, and Mr. Maxson had no bond with her. The uncertainty of paternity held him back from the potential daughter. All these guys did was constant bickering. Judge Lake had to bring them back to the real matter at hand.
He's denying her, or he don't want to be in her life because she still wouldn't understand.
Even when they don't quite understand it, what we've learned through helping hundreds and hundreds of families, that it'll be another child that just will say,
Yeah.
you know, that's not your daddy, that's my daddy.
Yeah,
And they may mean it maliciously.
About time the defendant got real about what the absence of a father in their equation was causing to the little girl. These guys were thinking about themselves, but the real sufferer was the child. And who better to school them on that than the judge, as the baby daddy started ranting again.
He seen my baby one time, and she was like 5 or 6 months. I was at my aunt's
through a
house.
picture?
His mom came and picked my baby up. Her and her daughter came and picked my baby up.
I did not pick your baby up, Jasmine.
What
I was
in
about
the
to
world?
pick your baby.
Oh, Lord.
I was about to take the baby with me. The baby started
she
crying.
took my baby. My
I
baby
left the
was 5
baby
months.
right there with her.
No.
Whether Mr. Maxon was the baby daddy or not, the real answer was sealed in that envelope. If it was left up to these guys, they would have been here all day long. But it was time to unveil the truth once and for all.
Mr. Maxon, you are the father.
I knew it.
That's your little girl, Mr. Maxon.
Just glad to know the truth.
The plaintiff here fired the shots immediately when he labeled the baby mama a serial cheater. However, the defendant stood her ground and claimed she was pretty positive he was the one who fathered baby Kadir.
Mr. Moody, you say Ms. Vaughn, who is 16 years your junior, is a serial cheater who can't be trusted.
Yes,
You
ma'am.
claim she cheated on you with multiple men, and you are convinced the DNA test will prove that you did not father her 3-year-old son, Kadir. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Seems to me Mr. Vaughn was just waiting to state his case. It was a testimony with his inner commentary rolled into one. Oh, yes. He claimed he gave the woman choices and he stood by them, but faced disappointment in the end.
When I first met Miss Vaughn, I asked her 3 questions. Do you want a relationship? Do you want to just have sex? Or you just want to be friends? What she told me was she wanted a relationship. So, okay, that's what I gave her. I gave her the relationship. As time goes by, Your Honor, you ain't gonna believe this, Your Honor, but as time...
After that revelation, baby daddy was now swarmed with the paternity doubt. Baby mama accepted her infidelity, and that led these guys to get a paternity test for their oldest kid. And the test came up with this result.
I thought I was ready for that relationship. But clearly, yes, I made a mistake, and I admitted to him. I became a grown woman, and I told him the truth. So I thought at the time I was ready for a relationship, but clearly I wasn't. Because I'm young. So in my mind and in my feelings, this is what I wanted. I wanted a family, but I didn't react it like that.
Apparently, that wasn't the end of it just yet. Not at all. The warning sign kept happening, and they kept pricking the baby daddy. And so, Mr. Moody enlightened the court how all that played out in their life that led them here now. Guess he was here to rant. And boy, did he.
One day she drove to work, she come home, I'm getting up that morning, I'm finna go to work. I get in the car, Your Honor. Now I asked, but when I seen this, I ain't asking that. When I get in the car, I looked in the car, grass all on the floor of my car and everything. Now keep in mind, Your Honor. Now wait a minute, hold on. Keep in mind, Your Honor, keep in mind.
I had picked somebody up.
Wait a minute.
One moment these guys were in the car, and the next were in the hotel. Yeah, and the judge had a hard time grasping that as well. The infamous hotel story finally got narrated when the baby daddy was done with 3 after the facts. You better see this for yourselves.
At that time, Your Honor, no, I was not cheating.
You weren't?
No, I
You weren't
wasn't.
cheating.
I said around that time I wasn't.
No, but what about the hotel incident you finally admitted to?
Okay, the hotel incident, but I didn't cheat it.
What you do?
I've been flirtatious, yeah,
At a
but
hotel?
I didn't cheat it.
At a hotel? You been first dates at a hotel?
Okay.
The baby daddy was persistent that the pattern was being repeated, just like during the first pregnancy, and he wasn't gonna be made a fool of twice. Nope. But on the other hand, Miss Vaughn claimed she was faithful this time around.
It's a possibility this child might not be mine. It's a strong
That's your
possibility.
first
And
thought?
the reason, that's my first thought. And the only reason of that is because I know her demeanor and how she acted at certain times. And the same way, the same demeanor and how she acted from the first pregnancy is the same demeanor how she acting now at the second.
Well, whatever the mama said, the plaintiff denied it outright. Moreover, he revealed he had results of a lie detector test that backed up his claim. And the theatrics with which he narrated the entire process was a must-watch. Whew, let's go.
Your Honor, I got the paperwork.
Oh.
On the lie detector test. Your Honor,
Jerome, let me see his paperwork.
Your Honor, let me explain it to you.
So you say, Mr. Moody, she took a lie detector test and these are the results?
That thing cost me $400. I had to pay $400 for them lies.
Next up, the judge reviews the results of the lie detector test. Apparently, the baby mama failed that test twice. Now, that definitely wasn't a good look on her. There were 3 questions in the test, and uh-oh, Miss Vaughn failed every single one of those. Ouch.
Have you had a sexual relationship with any male other than LaGrease? That would be Mr. Moody.
Liar.
You failed that.
Yes, Your Honor.
Have you lied to LaGrease about any sexual contact you had with another male?
Liar.
You failed that.
The baby mama accepted the truth. Well, gotta give her that at least. Finally, she stated in her mind that she had a different mindset then, but now it's evolved. And she seemed ready to make the changes necessary for that to happen.
Everybody makes mistakes. I did make mistakes. I did lie. I was a compulsive liar. I had to grow up. I had to become a grown woman. And not just that, be better as a mother for my children.
That's why I can't trust on them same tears she do when she be lying.
Okay, that's the past. We come out
Same
now. I'm not that person that I was then.
All this paternity chaos really took a toll on their relationship, but even more on the relationship between a son and a father. Mr. Moody wanted to be the father the child deserved. The doubt just kept nagging him and held him back. He was sure the results would surprise him too.
It really affects our relationship a whole lot. You know, ultimately, it really does. I can't trust her at all, Your Honor. When she leave to go to work, I don't know what she doing. When she come home, I don't know. When I go to work, I don't know what she doing.
So this is the way it is at home now. You can't believe nothing she said.
This how it is, Your Honor.
You look at him and deep down inside you have doubt.
Yes, ma'am.
Baby Kadir deserved a father, and the only obstacle in his way was the paternity doubt. Mr. Moody was here for answers, and Judge Lake had those for him. Let's see whether Miss Vaughn really was full of surprises or not.
Mr. Moody, you are the father.
Hello. Thank you. No, don't want mine.
Yeah, it made me feel a whole lot better, you know what I'm saying?
I can see that. I can see that.
I know I messed up in the past. That's the past.
Okay, can you please just explain to me what about the dude you slept with that looks dead on just like me?
Oh, I meant that one.
You got found out she cheated with a haunted house. She was in the haunted house cheating?
No, she was in the house that we were living in with them kids.
So after that, he went ghost back to the haunted house.
Yes, Your Honor.
Halloween had turned into quite a nightmare for Mr. Streety after the woman of his dreams cheated on him. And now the potential father and Miss Johnson had it out for each other. Once you hear the things they've done to each other, you'll want to pull your hair out.
We met after years of not seeing each other, and then he left and went to Denver. And when he came back that December, he proposed to me. And I would say he was still involved with someone else because he was receiving phone calls. He was like very suspicious about it, and I didn't pay attention to him.
Turns out the two of them have a long history together. And it looks like Mr. Streety made a lot of false promises to Miss Johnson. You know how men are, always saying things, never doing them. Things like impregnating women and then bailing on them. Just to mention a few.
Saw with other men, that's the red car?
I saw them at the gas station at the pump. She's just chilling in the truck. As a matter of fact, this person that she's with, if this was such a good man, he's sitting in the truck, she's pumping the gas. A couple weeks later, I'm playing soccer with my 2 younger cousins in my uncle's front yard. Guess who come bending around the corner? Her and the same nut that I saw earlier at the gas station. This is around the time when I discovered that she's pregnant.
All of this left the mama baby stranded. Apparently the plaintiff had his own reason for acting so cold. Well, Mr. Streety caught her with another man. The defendant claimed was way after she got pregnant.
Yeah, that she had been cheated in October, okay? So if you had been doing that in October, and you not just telling me you only slept together 2 or 3 times.
You got found out she cheated with a haunted house. She was in the haunted house cheating?
No, she was in the house that we were living in with them kids.
Mr. Streety had his heart crushed over when his girlfriend started cheating on him with the guy from the haunted house. Meanwhile, the defendant was angry that her man would go spend quality time with his kid from another woman. she didn't like the pictures they posted together.
Like, he would leave my house just to see his ex and their child. And they would spend time together. They
Your
had
Honor.
pictures all on
Your Honor.
Facebook, him lying in the bed when the baby was born. It's like, wow, you didn't tell me any of this. I didn't know none of this. We moved in together in March, and he moved out in June.
Now, both of them have different versions to tell to the court. Mr. Streety is completely sure Miss Johnson got pregnant by the haunted house guy, but according to Miss Johnson, she got pregnant in July, and she hadn't met the other guy until October. Who's really telling the truth?
He's been in my daughter's life since she was 1. He knows that they don't know their fathers. Their fathers don't come around or call or check on them. I wasted my time, my energy, anything that we put forth to build our family and make our lives better.
Even though Miss Johnson had kids from men other than the plaintiff, he's never hesitated to play his part in raising all of her other kids. So it feels really unfair that he's walking out on them now and not even admitting it because he's got all the facts wrong.
After October was over, that was it. Like,
Better been.
we slept like during our work relationship those 2 or 3 times, and that was it.
So
I
after
see
that, he went ghost back
Correct.
to the haunted house.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay.
It's sickening to watch a man turn his back on his kids and a woman who only wants to be with him. Why even give them so much hope in the first place? Mr. Streety says he's a military guy who understands what responsibility is, but Zaandre doesn't look like him at all. Only the results will reveal the truth.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Streety, you are the father.
I told you.
How do you feel now, Mr. Streety?
That just shows right there that she did have somewhat of some kind of respect for me. You know what I'm saying? She's never been unsure. I always been unsure.
This husband brought his wife to court questioning the paternity of his 2 kids because his wife had been unfaithful more than a couple of times. Well, almost 10 times. Yeah, you heard me right. While Mrs. Nicholas maintained she was now a changed woman, well, we shall see about that.
Mr. Nicholas, you cannot be the father of 4-year-old Naomi or 1-year-old Nathaniel because your wife is a habitual cheater. You have shocking evidence of your wife's outrageous sexual infidelity, including encounters with strangers in public places and affairs with your co-workers.
Mr. Nicholas narrated the outrageous encounter he had with a random dude, informing him about what his wife was up to in the bathroom at that time. Yikes! How the heck do you recover from something like that? But there was much more coming his way. Trust us.
You know, the sushi spot I used to work at, right, is a hot silk. People come in and out. Right? Some guy comes up to me and tells me straight up to my face that my wife is performing oral sex in the bathroom.
Oh, wait a minute. The sushi restaurant.
Yes, ma'am.
And a guy just comes up to you.
And tells me that she's performing oral sex in the bathroom.
Hold up, rewind.
During your shift.
Yeah, during my shift while I was working.
It seemed Mrs. Nicholas had been a wild girl in high school with a reputation. The husband told the judge the first time he got to learn about defendants' cheating, and she did not show any remorse. Come on, man, you knew what you signed up for.
I just kissed him. It's my
I'm almost afraid to ask, but please tell me that story.
What, Great Americas?
Yes.
Yeah, we're in high school. You know, we're high school sweethearts. We've been together for a while. And then, you know, she comes up and tells me straight to my face that she made out with somebody.
I just am telling you the
That was the very
truth.
first time she cheated on me.
That was the first time.
Yeah.
It appears the baby mama had a thing for places where his husband used to work. Another story was narrated by the husband that took place in a pizza joint where the wife was engaged in a questionable activity. Again.
She was having an affair with my manager. So tell me that.
Oh, yes. I'm being honest with you. Yes, I did have an affair. On top of that, every time I try to talk to you, you're just not there for me.
Yeah, just because he's been buying you diapers, all that. On
Diapers? Yeah, every time I ask you, you just take off. You spend your money on something else.
Turns out the husband's co-worker wanted something more from the woman when he used to comfort her. And by the looks of it, he got it. Yeah, for him. Defendant, on the other hand, left something very important behind.
How did you find out that she had slept with the coworker that got the diapers?
She told me she left her panties there.
I did not leave panties there.
What?
No.
No, you told me you left your panties there.
Oh my
Would
God.
you know the panties were missing? I'm not understanding.
No, she
it.
told me
You just
I
told-
left my panties there.
Things just kept getting fascinating in this story. Eventually, the baby mama ended up accepting one instance where she cheated. Finally! But the reason she ended up cheating on her husband was just plain foolish. Seriously, woman?
I know I messed up in the past. That's the past.
Okay, can you please just explain to me what about the dude you slept with that looks dead on just like me?
Oh, I meant that one.
Oh, it just keeps getting. So, Mrs. Nicholas, did you sleep with someone that looks just like your husband?
Yes, Your Honor.
It was time for this case to be wrapped up and bring an end to all this cheating fiasco. The stakes were high. The husband and wife had enough of each other's bickering. So, let us roll out the results.
As it relates to 1-year-old Nathaniel Nicholas, it has been determined, Mr. Nicholas, that are his father.
Exactly! I told you!
How do you feel, Mr. Nicholas?
Relieved. I'm super happy.
Mr. McCrory was back in the court again, but this was on the plaintiff's side of the podium. He doubted the paternity of his son Keith, as it had been previously established that his wife, Mrs. McCrory, had been unfaithful to him in their marriage.
Mr. McCrory, after you and your wife received shocking results in this courtroom surrounding your daughter's paternity, you returned home and realized you have good reason to doubt your son Keith's paternity. And now your marriage is on the rocks.
Yes, Your Honor.
As it turns out, Mr. and Mrs. McCrory broke up for a while. And what Rose did during that brief break was why they had to be here now. While she was out doing these questionable activities, the husband followed their wedding vows.
Ms. McCrory, did you sleep with anyone else? Were you intimate with anyone else?
Yes, I was.
Did you use protection?
No.
Had you ever told Mr. McCrory about this?
No, I didn't. Because I see it as that, why would I have to tell him if we're not together?
So you felt like we're broken
It's
up?
my business.
The guy believed till death do us part, while the wifey, not so much. Their bed wasn't even cold yet, and bam, the wife was warming up someone else's. Not cool. And did she have any remorse about it? Not at all.
Because I just 1,000% know that's his child right there. That's his kid. It's gonna come back. It's gonna come back. It's his child. You can tell. Look at.
And so you just felt like you didn't have to tell the whole truth because you were so certain Keith Jr. was.
I wasn't with him. It's not cheating.
Defendant surely has been a naughty woman. And even after that, she was persistent that Keith Jr. was Mr. McCrory's son, which made the potential daddy some questionable photos of his better half.
So the first one was just like not too long ago.
And those pictures, I mean, I wasn't even with him.
The first
and that's
one
just pictures.
was like
those pictures have been on
less than
Facebook
6 months
for
ago.
years, and I don't do that stuff no more.
The first one was like probably like less than 6 or 7 months ago.
No, those pictures are not 6, 7 months ago. Those are
The one with the top that you just.
There's nothing wrong with
just
that
bought
picture.
The marriage, or whatever was left of it, was now on the line as the husband had enough of the wife's infidelity and nasty antics. Well, that was understandable, as who would want to be made a fool every time?
My friend and her friend, he comes over our house, he chills out and drink with us, crash on the couch for the night.
And this is the person she slept with?
Yes, Your Honor. If she's lying to me and it's not my son, I'm not gonna stay with her, I'm gonna leave her. I mean, I'm not gonna be with somebody who lied to me about my son.
So the stakes are that high?
Yes, Your Honor.
How long have you guys been married?
We've been married for 3 years, been together for 4.
Along with the paternity test, the husband also requested the court to have his wife go through the lie detector tests. Mr. McCrory wanted the truth at all costs, and he got it when the polygraph revealed shocking results.
If you had sexual intercourse with the other possible father of Keith Jr., other than the 2 times you previously admitted, you said no. The lie detector determined you were being deceptive.
What? What the heck is that?
Now was the time for the DNA results. The only thing that can either save this marriage or break it apart indefinitely. The envelope was opened, and this was the truth.
Has been determined by this court. Mr. McCrory, you are the father.
Yeah, I told you so.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Your Honor.
I'm happy for you.
Get ready for a thrilling ride as we unravel the jaw-dropping twist in this saga. Mr. Matlock returned from his vacation to a bombshell. Miss Monroe had been intimate with her ex-lover. Though he forgave her, doubts now plague him. Could the child she carries actually belong to her former flame? Hold your breath as we dive deeper into this gripping tale.
Back in 2006, when me and Miss Monroe first got together, back in 07, I was down there for a week.
No, you said
Yeah,
you,
no, it was
you
a
said
week.
you were going to be
No,
gone a
it
weekend
wasn't.
and you
It
were gone a
was a
month.
week. You're
you
lying.
Were gone a
It
month.
was a week.
You were gone a month.
Anyway, Your Honor,
You were gone a month.
when I was gone for a week,
No, you're gone a month.
she moved her ex into our home.
But wait, there's more. Prepare to be amazed as we unveil another shocking revelation. Baby mama's sister spilled the beans about the baby. During defendant's absence, another man stood by Miss Monroe's side at the hospital. The plot thickens.
So I call her sister, Happy New Year's, what's up? First thing out of sister's mouth was, what's up is you need to check on your daughter. I didn't even know she had a girl. Matter of fact, when the baby was born, another man was in the hospital room with her when the baby was born.
Where was you?
Oh yes, ma'am. I was back in town taking care of my son, doing what a father's supposed to be.
Now the courtroom drama takes center stage. In a surprising turn, Mr. Matlock failed to attend a crucial hearing, resulting in the court declaring him the father by default. He now must pay $360 for a child he doubts is his own. The impact on his life is immeasurable. Brace yourself for the emotional roller coaster.
You're paying child support in the amount of $360 a month.
She's mad because she gets more money, so I'm going back to court over that. Been in jail for child support because my son's mother got mad and said I wasn't paying child support when I was paying child support because I sent the picture of the baby to her when I first found out.
Kudos to Mr. Matlock, a true gentleman who works tirelessly to support his son and her daughter, even though he questions their relationship. Despite the uncertainty, he strives to make ends meet with part-time work. What a remarkable display of dedication.
You're working triple shifts.
I'm killing myself.
Trying to make sure you're paying the child support.
Trying to find a second job right now. Not only to pay child support, but make sure that Christmas, birthdays, school time, my son got what he needs. My family likes her or believes that that baby mine. Nobody.
Get ready for the grand finale. Brace yourself as the truth comes to light. Turns out, Mr. Matlock has been toiling away for a child that isn't his. The paternity test clears his name. But will he recoup his hard-earned money? A thrilling climax awaits.
These results were prepared by DNA Diagnostics. When it comes to 5-year-old Kenya Monroe, Mr. Matlock, you are not.
I knew it! Go find your baby daddy. I told you I wasn't the father of that child. Knew it from the beginning. Trifling.
Hold your breath as we weigh the consequences. Though Mr. Matlock has every right to be furious and seek reimbursement, we must acknowledge his noble intentions. Miss Monroe, to her credit, promises not to demand child support if he's not the father. Can these two reconcile their shattered bond? Let the healing begin for this long-time connection.
Now, you're gonna have to go back to your home state and petition that court, but I am here to tell you right now, there's no guarantees you're gonna receive that money back.
The child support at least will stop though, right?
Yes, I'll stop it. I'm not gonna make you pay for it. She's not yours.
The issue is, moving forward, you all have had a long-standing friendship, even outside of a sexual relationship. It's gonna all come out here. I always say, if it don't come out in the wash, it's coming out in the dry, or it's coming out in paternity court. But if you end up with this baby by him, that might change.
Yes.
Ho-ho!
That ain't gonna change. That ain't gonna change.
It took me a minute, but I arrived.
Miss Diaz and Miss Mendoza are in court today over a DNA test that could reveal Miss Diaz's real family. Miss Diaz believes the test is the key to understanding why she's always felt like an outsider. Her mom, Miss Mendoza, worries that the results might only hurt her daughter more. What crazy reveal will the test hold?
I was 20 years old. I was told that I was not ever going to have children. So I met with her biological mother. I doubt that her mother even knows who her biological father is. I've been through this with her plenty of times. Her mother had an extramarital affair, and I don't believe Carl Honeycutt Sr. is the father.
At age 15, when most girls are excited about their quinceañera, Leah Zelda tells her mom she didn't want a party. Instead, she wanted to meet her biological mother. Her mom had always been there for her, but Leah Zelda felt she had the right to know her real family too. It's a tough moment that puts both of them in a hard spot. What will happen next?
Your Honor, I mean, I've looked at it from both sides, but more so mine because my mother obviously knows her parents. I never got that chance, and that's all I've ever wanted. I've always wanted to feel that bond. I feel a bond with her because she's always been there for me, but I also have the right to know who my real family is as well. You know?
Miss Mendoza fears that if Leozelda finds out her real dad is Carnell Honeycutt Sr., she'll be pushed aside. WTF! How can her mother be so selfish? She's given her all and is scared of losing her daughter's love. But could this DNA test also bring heartbreak they aren't prepared for?
I've sacrificed everything for her.
But Ms. Mendoza, you have to understand that supersedes or replaces all the love and support.
In my mind, I know this is the right thing for her to do, and it's instinctive for her to know her roots. But my heart just can't open up and let her live through that disappointment again.
Jerome brings in Mr. Honeycutt, who might be Leozelda's biological father. How did he get involved? Turns out he saw an Ancestry.com ad after his dad hinted he might have another child out there. Could Mr. Honeycutt be the missing link in Leozelda's search for her real family?
I was talking to my dad. I was asking him, if he would ever have any more kids. And he was like, no, man. He gave me the name of the woman. And so I looked her up and I saw an Ancestry.com ad and it said, looking for my father. And I saw Leozelda as a name. I got the name and found her on Facebook.
When Miss Diaz got the message that might connect her to her biological father, she first thought it was a scam. She'd heard the name Mr. Honeycutt before, but never connected the dots. Even her mom, Miss Mendoza, had no clue. The biological mother had kept that information secret. Is this the moment of truth they've all been waiting for?
The probability of siblingship is 0.6%, which means they do not share biological parents and are not siblings.
This is exactly what I was scared of, Your Honor.
Mr. Muhammad is in court to prove he is the father of Miss Walton's 2-year-old daughter, Brooklyn. He believes Miss Walton is denying his paternity because she wants to be with another man. WTF? Is she so selfish to keep her daughter away from her real father? He is determined to establish that he is, in fact, Brooklyn's father.
I was having more sexual intercourse with the other guy than Mr. Muhammad.
And you were having sex with this other guy behind his back, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the nature of your relationship with Mr. Muhammad?
Okay, the nature of our relationship was Anwar was already having an affair with another woman.
Miss Walton admits to sneaking off to hotels with another man while telling Mr. Muhammad she was at work. She asserts they were not in a committed relationship at the time Brooklyn was conceived, despite sharing a 4-year-old child. Mr. Muhammad feels deceived and insists they were in a relationship.
She told you the other guy was her cousin?
Was her cousin. Her cousin.
That's not true, Your Honor. He's always known this guy.
I know.
Who he was.
So you're saying you were in a relationship?
In a relationship.
And you're saying you were not in a relationship when Brooklyn was conceived?
No, we was not in a relationship. We were just living together.
Mr. Muhammad describes becoming suspicious when physical intimacy between him and Miss Walton stopped. After observing her acting differently, he decided to check her phone and discovered text messages indicating a sexual relationship between her and another man. He was previously under the impression that this man was her cousin.
So can you tell me how you found out about the man at all? Just start from the beginning.
You stopped having sex with me. Yana, I know when you stopped having sex with me. So she started to act funny, started to be rebellious, and started to do funny things. So that drove red flags to me. I grabbed the phone, I started looking at the text message, I see the conversation between her and the gentleman.
Okay.
Mr. Muhammad remains convinced that he is Brooklyn's father based on physical similarities and attributes he sees in the child. He specifies the date of conception as February 21st, claiming it occurred at his mother's house in the bathroom. Miss Walton contradicts this, stating the encounter happened at her house, not his mother's.
I could see February the 4th. No, the 5th. That's the day after our oldest daughter's first birthday.
But if you conceived that night, wouldn't that make Mr. Muhammad
the father?
Brooklyn's biological
father? But I was having sex with him and the other guy that whole week.
Like me. Brooklyn looks like me. Look at her. That's my baby. That's my baby.
Mr. Muhammad is convinced he's Brooklyn's father based on characteristics he sees in her. Miss Walton admits to having unprotected sex with both men around the time of conception. She initially told the other man she was pregnant, but informed Mr. Muhammad later. Paternity remains a 50-50 question.
Miss Walton admits that she was having sex with both men. You weren't using protection with the other man?
No.
You weren't using protection with Mr. Muhammad?
No.
Trifle.
You were having sex around the window of conception with both men?
Yes.
This is 50-50 no matter how we slice it.
Right.
Did you tell the other man, I'm pregnant and this could be your baby?
Yes, I told him.
Miss Walton believes in her heart that Mr. Muhammad is Brooklyn's biological father, but thinks the other man would be more financially supportive and a better father. She also admits she wants to be with the other man, who is currently married. Will the DNA result break Mr. Muhammad's heart?
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Muhammad, you are the father.
Yes. I know what I'm talking about, baby. I know what I'm talking about.
Right now, you have 2 children together. Let's stop making this a fight. Do you understand?
Yes.
Mr. McCormick believes that Miss Ball is a serial cheater, citing evidence like text messages and videos, and is convinced he's not the father of her son, Gavin. Miss Ball admits to past infidelity, but insists that Mr. McCormick is the father and aims to prove it. This case is going to be a crazy ride.
Well, Your Honor, yeah, I found text messages. I've seen her getting in strange vehicles. I've seen videos. What haven't I found? Like, you know, there's no way that I could be this child's father. I'm starting to become numb to all this. It's getting old.
Your Honor, there have been several times I have cheated, and I've been honest with him and told him about it.
Mr. McCormick expresses his emotional pain over the doubts surrounding the paternity of Gavin, especially given the bond he feels with the child. To demonstrate his concerns, he presents an exhibit showing how he caught Miss Ball in acts of infidelity, including her meeting a strange man under the guise of going to the gas station.
Well, the first time, she said she was going to go to the gas station to meet a family member. I kind of stayed back, and then I was following her. I saw her getting to a truck of a strange guy. He was like 25 years old.
Why would you let me get in the truck?
Okay, is that you or is that the strange guy?
That's the strange guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. McCormick continues to detail instances of Miss Ball's infidelity, describing a time he caught her getting into a truck with a man and another woman. WTF, a man and a woman? When questioned, she claimed she was going hunting, despite it being summer and her having no interest in hunting. Mr. McCormick estimates she has cheated on him multiple times, even though she's only admitted to 1 instance.
How many times do you believe Miss Ball cheated on you up till this point?
I mean, at least I'd say a couple times. There was a text message on the phone. I picked up the phone, pretended to be Miss Ball, and texted some sexual stuff. They texted back. I texted, can we do the same thing that we did the last time we hung out?
Mr. McCormick alleges he found nude photos and a suspicious audio clip of Miss Ball, suggesting infidelity. Miss Ball denies the claim, insisting any explicit photos would have been for him. The tension escalates as both parties dispute the evidence and its implications.
I heard another female say, you can have him now, girl. And she denied that. She said that it wasn't her voice.
Oh, so you think they're having a threesome?
A threesome, menage a trois.
So you're gonna be disrespectful and say that.
And all of this cheating leads you to believe that Gavin is not your biological son.
I mean, yeah.
All right.
Miss Ball admits to cheating in the past, but argues that any uncertainty now stems from insecurities she's caused. She insists that Mr. McCormick is the father of Gavin, citing their strong resemblance and her own calculations about the conception date. Looks like the DNA result will be the one to reveal if Mr. McCormick was right or not.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. McCormick, you are the father.
Thank you.
I'm glad. Now we can move forward.
Stop the accusations. Let's move forward and raise this little boy.
Miss King wants to prove that Mr. Porter is the father of their 3-year-old son, Kalen. Mr. Porter denies paternity, claiming medical issues make him infertile. WTF? How can a man who is medically unable to have a child be the father? They are currently co-parenting, and today's paternity test results are crucial for the future of their relationship.
Me and George at the moment are co-parenting. The reason why I want him the reason why he is the father of my son is because I just know that he's the father.
Okay.
He's the only person that I've been with, and my son deserves to have a father listed on his birth certificate.
And so you feel like he isn't stepping up?
Yes, no, he's not.
Are you not stepping up, Mr. Porter?
It's not the fact that I'm not stepping up.
Mr. Porter and Miss King were in a relationship but broke up. leading Mr. Porter to move to New York and start a new relationship. Ms. King told him she was pregnant to rekindle their relationship, which led Mr. Porter to break up with his new girlfriend and come back. However, Ms. King later admitted she initially lied about being pregnant.
At the time, she told me she was pregnant, so I believed her. Decided, because I didn't have my father in my life, I decided I'm gonna step up to the plate regardless. So I was there throughout the whole everything. But maybe about a month after her telling me she was pregnant, she walked in the room with a pregnancy test and was just waving it around like she was pregnant. So I'm like, I was confused.
Ms. King initially lied to Mr. Porter about being pregnant to rekindle their relationship. When she planned to tell him the truth, she found out she was actually pregnant. Although she eventually admitted her initial lie to Mr. Porter, the truth was already eroded, making him skeptical about the real pregnancy.
So I told him I was pregnant, and eventually I was going to tell him that I wasn't pregnant, but during that time that I was going to tell him that I wasn't pregnant.
Because you was really trying to get pregnant because you knew
I
you had
basically
lied.
tried to get
Go on,
pregnant,
just
yeah.
tell the truth, girl. We already know what happened. You worked real hard at that.
Yeah.
Because you had already lied.
Yeah.
Okay, so then you were pregnant, but he doesn't believe that.
No, he doesn't believe it.
Miss King admits to seeing another man when she felt Mr. Porter was distancing himself to be with another woman. Although she insists that Mr. Porter is the biological father of Kaylin, her actions cast doubt on her claim. The judge calls her out for doing too much and commends Mr. Porter for being a stand-up guy in the situation.
When I found out that he was still dating her, he would sometimes like break up with me and decide like, I don't want to be with you anymore. Just find like little scenarios to pick over this, say that he doesn't want to be with me so that he can go back to the girl. So when he would do that, I would go back and I would talk to my past relationship.
But you told Mr. Porter he's the biological father of Kylan.
Yes.
Mr. Porter found texts between Miss King and another man, fueling his doubts about being the biological father of Kaylin. Despite holding the newborn in a hospital photo, it is crazy how he was internally questioning the child's paternity. He submitted these texts to the court for review.
When he was first born, I was the first one to hold him.
You look just like a dad holding their beautiful newborn baby. But what were you thinking?
If he was mine, I was telling her that I didn't believe he was mine. As I presented to the courtroom, I have text messages showing of what her and the fellow was talking about before
And you
this picture was
submitted
taken.
those text messages
Yes, ma'am.
to the court?
Yes, ma'am.
Miss King is convinced that Mr. Porter is the biological father of her son Kaylin, despite admitting to trapping him. To prove her point, she presents a height chart in court. She argues that both she and Mr. Porter are shorter than average, and their son's height also falls below average, thereby suggesting that Mr. Porter must be the father.
As you can see, the average male is actually 5'9". George is 5'2". Each time that I take my son to the doctor to get his wellness check, he actually falls between the lower percentile of height-wise. The average child is 3'2" through 3'5". My son is 3 feet. Me and George both are short, so it's guaranteed that my son is going to be short.
Mr. Porter counters Miss King's claims by presenting medical evidence. He was diagnosed with the second highest case of lead poisoning in New York State. Believing this could have affected his fertility, he is skeptical he could be the father of Miss King's son. Only the DNA result can reveal if he's still able to have a child.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Porter, you are the father. Congratulations.
I'm super happy right now.
You look happy.
Miss King, I want to apologize to the way I carried myself throughout all of this. You know what I mean?
The time in which you were sleeping with that person as well as
This person and that person.
Yes. You're the person with the trust issue. Are you undermining his authority?
No,
he
I'm
doesn't
not.
have to listen.
He
He
knows
knows
I
he
feel
don't.
like I have
He
to
knows
choose
he don't.
A marriage on the brink of a divorce. Uh-oh. Mrs. Johnson planned to divorce her husband of 7 years if he didn't agree to family counseling. The cause of this discord was apparently the son of Mrs. Johnson, and now they were here for some much-needed answers.
You claim your husband of 7 years is forcing you to choose him over your 12-year-old son, Elijah. You state that you have separated multiple times over the past 5 years of your marriage. You argue that it's because your wife undermines your authority and allows her 12-year-old son to disrespect you.
The plaintiff immediately launched into the instances where her husband treated her son differently than their other kid. Yep, he played favorites. However, Mr. Johnson didn't agree to it at all and laid the whole blame on the wife.
He would participate in our son Ethan's.
That's not
That
true at all.
photo right there was Elijah's birthday.
Was that work?
I took him to the go-karts. My son was so upset. He sat there and cried because nobody came to
He
his
wasn't
birthday
upset
party.
that I didn't come. He was upset that his cousins did come from Florida.
The defendant stood his ground that he didn't favor the other kid more. He further stated that he had been doing everything a father does for their kid since he was a little boy. So what was the issue? Apparently, Elijah had been disrespectful towards him. Interesting.
You said your son asked you, Mom, why can't I have a dad too?
He does have a dad. I'm there for him. I potty trained him. I taught him how to ride bikes. I played video games with him. I've tried
this was
so
years
many
ago,
times. It
though.
was years ago.
Mr. Johnson, but do you show favoritism? Do you?
No, I
To
don't.
your
Yes, he
biological
does.
child?
Mr. Jason ended up sharing an instance where the 12-year-old Elijah hadn't been a respectful kid, and it was quite detailed. Moreover, the husband claimed his wife undermined his authority, and that encouraged the kid to not respect him. Clearly, there were a lot of underlying parenting issues.
We got a new place together. I started to remodel the entire place. She told him specifically to clean up after himself. He is 12 years old. I cleaned the entire house. 5 minutes later, he destroyed it. There's food everywhere. I asked him, pick up after yourself. I shouldn't have to do it. You're 12 years old.
Are you undermining his authority?
No,
he
I'm
doesn't
not.
have to listen
He
to
knows
me.
I feel like I have
He
to
knows he
choose
don't.
It would appear that Elijah was not only disrespectful to Mr. Johnson, but the rest of the family as well. Wow. Furthermore, he claimed the kid was in desperate need of some semblance of discipline. The only hurdle was his mother, as she kept coddling him.
She fights with him constantly over the simplest things. Clean your room, listen, don't talk back. He cannot be disciplined, she won't discipline him, and instead of disciplining him, she babies him. He's 12 years old, can he pick up after himself? Can he respect his
So
elders?
learning how to do chores, clean up after
Respect?
himself.
Yeah, but you
Do
gotta
you think
give
he respects
respect.
his
I
mother?
did give respect for many, many years.
Mr. and Mrs. Johnson were now separated, and their marriage was at stake. According to them both, they loved each other evidently, but were not on the same page. Clearly, they had different parenting styles, and no one was ready to back down.
I mean, I love Jason with all my heart. I do. And
I love
I
her
would
too.
love for, us to work and to be a happy family.
We don't
but
see eye
at
to
the
eye.
point it's at right now, I just don't know if that's ever going to happen because so much has happened, so many
How do you want me to be a father
being
but not do fatherly
disrespectful
things?
and
Well, the mommy came prepared with a witness. He was her father, and he attested to the fact that Mr. Johnson indeed behaved differently with both Elijah and Ethan. To this, Mr. Johnson stated that the grandpa behaved differently with Ethan and favored Elijah more. Clearly, everyone had their favorites here.
You ask Ethan to pick up your room, it's like, would you pick up your room? What's wrong with you? Why don't
So why aren't we here for the way you talk to Ethan? Doesn't that go for both kids though? Wouldn't that go for both children, not just Elijah? Like what Ethan, my son, he does the same thing. He babies Elijah. Oh, it'll be
You
okay.
shouldn't yell at Ethan
oh, it'll
either
be
like
okay.
that.
You yell at him.
Now, the defendant obviously believed that the children needed to be disciplined above all else, while his wife believed Mr. Johnson wasn't representing a steady image of himself. Both were not backing down, it seemed, and amidst all of this, the father-in-law stated what the couple should eventually do. Reality check much.
one of our biggest arguments is financial. And he's like, I help you and it's 50-50 with both of us. But it's not. Jason pays half of the bills and that's about it. Every once in a while,
A lot of men out here
his
ain't doing
mom
that.
helps more with the kids.
He needs to focus less on molding the children and more on providing.
Mr. Amolsch had some strong opinions on their marriage, but by the looks of it, when he was supervising Elijah, he too couldn't handle the boy as well. The judge tried to understand their situation, but soon these guys were lashing out at each other, and Judge Lake gave them a piece of her mind. Ain't no funny business with her.
Courtney has to work tomorrow. You guys are gonna have to figure something out.
Yeah, but my
that's
dad
false.
also had plans. You know what I'm saying? My dad is retired. My niece
So
was
it
there.
didn't
She's
happen?
11, and my son is 12. He had plans, so they still have to be under some kind of supervision.
Finally, the witness from the defendant's side came forward, and much like the plaintiff's father, the defendant's mother also had some things to share, and it was indeed enlightening. Truly, the whole family was involved here and was being scrutinized at every level.
You got the whole family involved here. Courtney's a good-hearted person. She tries to please everybody, and she goes out of her way to please me. You know, and I'm just the mother-in-law. But she does that. She's a pleaser. But you got to set limits for your children. You cannot be best friend, 10-year-old, 12-year-old. You can't be best friends with these guys.
While the wife claimed that the husband needed parenting lessons, and the latter claimed the former needed to have anger management classes, it was time to see who would agree to what. And those choices will decide the course of their marriage. Let's see if the petition for divorce stands or not.
That there was a petition for divorce. We've seen, now that we've consented to the anger management and the parenting courses, is it safe to say that we're going to work on this marriage?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. So we won't be needing this, right?
Right.
Fantastic.
A paternity mystery of 30 plus years. Yep. After 3 decades, the plaintiff finally brought the defendant to court to take responsibility for fatherhood. However, Mr. Henderson was determined to stand his ground and ready to prove her wrong.
You're here to prove to him that he is the biological father of your 32-year-old son, Raydell. Now, Mr. Henderson, you have never met Raydell, and you don't believe you're his father, and today you say you're here to prove it.
Yes, Your Honor.
Shedding light on how this story came to be, it turns out the couple's meet-cute was at a bar where Mr. Henderson was a DJ. A happening start, I have to say. But the baby daddy soon interrupted the plaintiff, and it turned pretty chaotic.
By him being a charming, very good looking, Your Honor, we got contact with each other. We started dating. We had a sex relationship, Your Honor. I became pregnant. He had doubt that that was not his child. Being with Mr. Henderson, we continue to have sex, relationship, dating, calling each other, going to each other's house, Your Honor.
Well, the defendant wasn't too shy to tell all about his wild pursuits and that playboy lifestyle. Not something to be proud of, my man. And on top of all that, Miss Brown knew about his lifestyle and she still chose to stay with him. And now, here they were, lashing out at each other.
This whole thing about a team just indicates it was all a game to you, and if you were potentially producing children, that's not a game. That's real life. This is a young man here who's trying to figure out who his father is, and let's be respectful.
Prepare yourselves, people. It's gonna get loud in here. Miss Brown and Mr. Henderson were going at each other's throats while the sun faded in the background. Yeesh! Calm yourselves, guys. You were standing in a court, not the middle of the street. Moreover, the defendant was sure he used protection when they did the deed. But we know that's not 100% effective.
Your Honor, I told her, I know I used protection, but what I did tell her, Your Honor, the only way I'm gonna believe the child is mine if we get a blood test. After I told Ms. Brown that, I didn't see Ms. Brown. This is the first time me laying my eyes on Ms. Brown in 33 years.
Exactly.
The emotions are still running strong here, even after all these years. Baby mommy further revealed that even though the guy denied paternity, he still visited the baby and spent some quality time. But Mr. Henderson didn't agree with the said version.
I'm calling me a deadbeat for as a man. I never knew the child was mine. And she never.
You did know.
She didn't stick around to give me a blood test
Miss Brown,
to prove the child was mine.
Let's be honest here. Behind a lot of your anger and all of that passion,
out of 32 years,
you feel like
bring me through this.
You hurt.
Yes, I'm hurt.
Now, after that quality time, the potential baby daddy went MIA. However, according to him, he did come back. Even though he was sure that wasn't his kid, he looked for them. But the baby mama, along with the kid, were gone. Yup.
You never heard from her again after that day?
And I came back by where I knew she lived. She didn't live there anymore. This is maybe about 5-6 months later, because I actually didn't believe the child was mine because I was using protection and I wasn't sleeping with her at the time.
You went back there and she was gone. Did you try to look for her or you figured,
Your Honor, I never looked.
It was high time Mr. Brown got the time and space to state his case. He was the one who suffered the most in this entire equation, and that too for so long. He also believed in his heart that the defendant was his father, as they both shared a lot of similarities.
I mean, like, how you sit here and say that I'm not your son, and we look just alike? I mean, this is the first time I ever seen him.
And when you see him in person, you see yourself?
Yes.
Mr. Brown got in contact with Mr. Henderson's sister, and she helped him contact Mr. Henderson. The defendant did call him, but didn't acknowledge him as his son. However, they did share a conversation because Mr. Henderson also experienced a life without a father. So, all hope isn't lost, I guess.
So when he called you, he acknowledged that you were his son?
I mean, no, he never acknowledged. I just told him who I was. We just went on from there. I mean, we had phone conversations and stuff like that.
And so, Mr. Henderson, when you heard about the Facebook post, he was looking for you. You did make the call.
Yes, Your Honor.
Next up, we got to see a picture evidence of a younger version of Mr. Henderson, and the defendant accepted he did see some resemblance in him. But we know by now that appearances can be deceptive.
He's a good-looking young man. I just never saw him before.
Yeah, but you saw him at the age of 2.
Well, if you'd have stayed where you were supposed to
No,
stay, we would know.
I wasn't
and he
supposed
would have
to
been
stay
in my
in Jersey
life.
City.
I blame her, Your Honor, also
Honor, I could
for
not
taking
live
the
in
child
Jersey.
down.
All right, we're not going to do the yelling. We're going to try to figure out how to get the answers Raydell deserves and needs.
Mr. Brown was hurting and had been in constant pain in the absence of his biological father. All eyes were on the envelope that held the fate of this young man. I hope he gets to hear those 4 words. Fingers crossed.
You are not his father.
Oh, no!
I told you.
Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm sorry that I thought you were the father because y'all look so much alike.
I understand.
I don't know who the father could be because I was dealing with Mr. Henderson.
Mr. Scott got a sneaking suspicion that his lovely girlfriend might be up to some hanky-panky behind his back. That's insane! Talk about trust issues. Well, let's see if we can help Mr. Paranoid Pants figure out what's really going on here.
She came to visit me. She came to my city. She came to visit me. You know, we hung out. We spent time. Had a nice time that night. No big deal, you know. It was nice. It was nice. She went to sleep. I happened to go through her phone. I went through her phone.
On the first night, you guys had a date?
The reason why I went through your phone, the reason why I went through your phone is because her phone.
He had no reason to go through my phone.
Well, that's one heck of a memory. Just so you know, people, Mr. Scott was doing this for the 2nd time, as he already had 7 children from 4 different women. Anyways, let's just focus right back and listen to what the plaintiff had to say.
So I went through her phone, and prior to us being together, conversating, conversing, I see that she had other text messages from other men.
But you weren't in a committed relationship, right?
Yeah.
No, not at that time. No, well, at the time upon of her arrival.
No, see, that's why he's stuttering, because he's lying.
They crossed paths on a dating site, and we all know those are known for their everlasting love stories. Not. But hey, Mr. Scott, being the Sherlock Holmes he is, had his suspicious antennas up right from the start. And the baby mama, oh, she's a persistent one, accused Mr. Scott of being a womanizer. How charming.
Previously, that you had a wife or ex-wife, whatever you like to admit to, the time in which you were sleeping with that person as well as
This person and that person.
Yes.
Girls, only 2
That's
girls. Let me
sad.
add another person.
That's crazy.
Don't add-
You're the person with the trust issue.
I'm a very smart man, you know what I mean? I look for signs.
Oh boy, as if all that drama wasn't enough, Mr. Scott apparently stumbled upon some interesting snapshots of other dudes on her phone. Well, isn't that just peachy? And hold on tight, because he also had the audacity to claim that the baby mama was sending all sorts of intimate pictures to other men.
I don't
Takes
take pictures
pictures
like
in
that, Your Honor. Come on
lingerie
now. Never.
in positions that
Never.
was uncalled for.
Never.
Inside
No.
Motel 6.
Inside of a motel.
Yes, it was.
Okay,
and it was a
Motel
weekly
6.
Motel 6 because they had the whole entertainment inside the motel.
Oh,
it was the
wait a
whole
minute.
thing. It was-
So you know that firsthand?
Of course, man.
The baby mama admitted that she was never in love with Mr. Scott, but when they met, they were both looking for the same things. But ever since the plaintiff decided to question her sincerity, things went south. Let's see what Judge Lake had to say about the situation.
Miss Kalan, now you're in a sort of relationship.
Right.
Every time she comes, you still in her phone.
Maybe four times?
About 6.
Okay.
I don't remember 6 times.
Always still conversations with other men that it seems like she's in a relationship with.
It was always something about a dude.
Oh, Mr. Scott just couldn't let go of his doubts, now could he? And of course, the baby mama was so sure too, until the plaintiff dropped this little bombshell right in the middle of the courtroom. Let's just dive into what happened.
Did you want to be a family with him?
I mean, it was what it was. I wasn't sure if that's what I
What
wanted.
was
He
it?
wanted me to move.
Wait, you said it was what it was. What
I
was
mean,
it?
I just met him not long before that.
said,
You know,
I'm
I
not
was
finna move
kind
no
of like
Sacramento,
blurry
man.
about it
That
myself.
weird
You know,
city.
who does that? Who gets pregnant the first time they go? I didn't know if that's what I wanted. I told him that.
The never-ending back and forth of accusations wasn't helpful at all. And of course, the parents were too preoccupied with their little dispute to be of any help. So naturally, the only glimmer of hope left was to uncover the oh-so-mysterious contents of the DNA envelope. Let's get ready for the big reveal, shall we?
You are not the father.
I apologize. I could be woman enough to apologize and keep it moving.
He might think he's gay or whatever. That's why I'm thinking to myself, he think he's gay. But he ain't met me.
Does he have to die for the truth to come out?
What happened?
He's been shot.
And that's the lifestyle that I didn't want to let my daughter leave with.
You was messing with him at the time of his lifestyle.
I don't even know who my own dad is. Okay, there.
She just always does that. She's about to do
But Miss
no,
Munsell,
no. This is what you do. You always walk away. You never can talk.
Shut up.
After one night of passion with her gay best friend. Yeah, you heard me right, gay best friend. Miss Weir alleged him of getting her pregnant. But obviously the bestie denies the paternity. So, as to unravel the paternity limbo for the plaintiff's 3-year-old son, this legal limbo begins.
You've now given me stories of 3 men that you've tested. This is gonna be the 4th. And you sleeping with all of these men unprotected. Do you feel like, Mr. Wilson, you know for certain that there were more men besides the 3?
Yes, Your Honor, because like I said, we've been
Your Honor,
friends for
but
a
there were
long
only
time.
4. There was
no,
only
Your Honor,
4.
it was more than that, Your Honor.
Apparently, Miss Weir and Mr. Wilson had a strong bond. They would watch Netflix, hang out, and host private potlucks. But this 8-year-old friendship turned into something else, as Miss Weir had other intentions.
When did you start even liking him?
I liked him from day one.
Oh!
I did. I'm confident about myself. He might think he's gay or whatever. That's why I'm thinking to myself, he think he's gay. But he ain't met me. And I made that move. And when I made that move, he didn't push me away.
But you were waiting for the time to make your move.
Yes, ma'am.
Miss Weir planned to seduce him, and with her efforts, they finally paid off. But wasn't he supposed to be a no-go zone for her? Oh, but it did happen, because the alcohol did its thing.
When she said, hey, you want to come over and watch Netflix and chill out, were you thinking she had any ulterior motive? This was just like another fun thing, another potluck?
I just thought we were just gonna be chilling, like we always do, watch TV. She kind of seduced me, we started drinking, I got intoxicated, one thing led to another.
Having no shame in her game, the irony was that baby mama also had 3 other men tested before getting Mr. Wilson tested. So now multiple men have had their hands in the cookie jar. The confession went something like this.
Mr. Wilson says you were dating other guys. Were you dating other men at that time?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Were you sexually active with the other men?
Yes, ma'am, I was.
Were you using protection with those men?
Some I was.
Some?
Wow.
How many other men? Say it loud and proud. You said you're a confident woman.
3.
Although Mr. Wilson accepted being the godfather to the child, as far as being the father is concerned, the guy had no intention of stepping up, because he remembered that he used protection. And there were other men in the mix.
You've now given me stories of 3 men that you've tested. This is gonna be the 4th. And you sleeping with all of these men unprotected. Do you feel like, Mr. Wilson, you know for certain that there were more men besides the 3?
Yes, Your Honor, because like I said, we've been
Your Honor,
friends
but
for a
there was
long
only
time.
4. There was
no,
only
Your Honor,
4.
it was more than that, Your Honor.
About now, it was clear that the only chance for the plaintiff's son for having a responsible father in his life was that DNA test. With so many twists and turns, we were only hoping that the result would finally bring the closure Miss Weir came for.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Wilson, you are not the father.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm sorry, and I don't want to be the bad guy or nothing. I love her, and I love my godson, but I'm glad that we just got this out the way and stuff now.
Yet another paternity saga unfolds when Miss Ferguson gets shocked to learn that the person by whom she was raised may not be her biological father. So she brought her mother, Miss Munsell, to court seeking answers.
No matter what I say, I do love you. My mom goes through crazy moments and acts like her family never is there for her. Acts like her 2 daughters are never the only ones that just want her attention and to talk to her and be there for her. So she was treating us like crap. She was acting like we never are there for her. She wouldn't talk to us. She would only talk to her guy friends and her other friends.
Despite being aware of her mother's bedtime chronicles, Miss Ferguson decided to sweep everything under the carpet. While the mommy wasn't much up for the ride, the alleged daddy's little prince couldn't handle the confusion. and decided to spill the beans on national TV.
Yes, I was supposed to be her little secret. You know, I was supposed to be the only one to know that she was sleeping around. And I couldn't handle it anymore because I love him like I love him. I figure I have 2 dads, and now this dad is telling me that this dad might not even be my real father.
Ah, so the poor girl was told by her stepdad. Anyway, shutting her daughter off, the big mama Munsell left the podium throwing a tantrum. Come on, lady, just stop acting like a hormonal teenager. It's hard to taste the truth, isn't it? At least have the courtesy to do some explaining.
It's more difficult for you to endure maybe this moment where she needs to talk about the circumstances surrounding her paternity? Or would it be more difficult to stand there as a young woman and honestly not know who your father is? You don't know who he is.
As the saying goes, that apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Miss Ferguson thought cheating was normal, but when told by her alleged father that he's also been harboring the same doubt regarding her paternity as told by the stepfather, she had the realization of playing tennis on the wrong court.
I found out after this, because that's when we met. She slept with 4 guys that night. It was my
4
friend.
guys in one night.
Yes, one night.
You know this for a fact, or you heard?
No, it's been, we were dating, you know, and moved in with each other. Within like 2 weeks, my sister started calling me saying, hey, there's cars down at the house.
4 men in one night? What? This family drama was far from being over. Blame shifting, rage, gaslighting, manipulating, the list goes on. So Judge Lake had to take the arguments and emotions under control. And don't you just love it about her?
There are mistakes. I feel your energy and I know you're ready to be in that moment of let's air it all out. Let's put it all out on the table because I want my mother back, because I want to understand who you are, why this all happened, and I want to know who my father is because I need all these truths so that we can begin again. I know that's what you're saying to her.
The discussion was nothing more than an attempt to extinguish the fire with fuel, but it was quite evident that they needed to know the result. So let's get to that result and find out what fate has stored for the woman in pink.
Mr. Ferguson, you are her father.
This sucks.
See? Great mom, huh?
The paternity session of Mr. Sensabaugh started with Miss Brown confronting him of being Mama's boy, who had petitioned for a paternity test after catching the defendant lying on numerous occasions. Well, now they're standing in front of Judge Lauren to sort things out for good.
I didn't know that Gregory was such a mother's boy and that I was dealing with his mother.
How am I a mother's boy?
I would be dealing with his mother more than him. I didn't lay with her, I laid with him. When we were supposed to, we had a conversation and he had said that he was ready to man up and move in together.
Mr. Sensabaugh not showing up to the leasing office, as told by the defendant, led to her believing that he was probably done. So she went from California to Oklahoma, playing house with her ex. Okay, that was probably way too fast.
You told me you was ready to settle down. You know that's the honest to God truth.
Regardless of all this, what brings us here is the lie. I just want to get to the bottom of this and see what it is because there was no closure.
At some point, you almost end up with another guy.
When I had left California, I went to Oklahoma with my ex.
Miss Brown was also keeping tabs on the conception window, and it revealed that she slept with both names in a short period. Hence adding fuel to the mess at hand. What was she thinking? Ain't you something, huh?
Green are the days you were intimate with Mr. Sensabaugh. In red is outlined the dates you were traveling, and then in blue indicates which days you were intimate with your ex.
Yes, Your Honor.
Which is potential father number 2. So yeah, that's doubt.
When Mr. Sensabaugh heard about the pregnancy, he was told that you were the father. Claiming this after taking the guilt tour to Oklahoma, you got guts, Miss Brown. However, he was uncertain yet considerate about the baby, asking to at least send her over.
She was for sure I was the father. Even without a paternity test, I try to get the baby out, come out there with me. I didn't have no paternity test or nothing. I was just gonna step up and be the father. My mom come get her, whatever. Whatever you want me to do, however you want to do. You can bring her out here on the plane, whatever, I get her.
So that he'd be able to bond with the child, being that she had 3 other children.
Wait, there's more to the story. the plaintiff had 2 near-death experiences and was shot 6 times. He then woke up from the trauma thinking about the "if the baby is mine." I'm not sure whether to appreciate the thought or be considerate about his mental health.
Does he have to die for the truth to come out? What happened? He's been shot.
And that's the lifestyle that I didn't want to let my daughter leave with.
You was messing with him at the time of his lifestyle.
I almost lost my life. I got shot 6 times. I got shot in the head, in the arm, in the back, in the butt. I got shot. So after that,
You
that's
woke
my
up thinking about Malaya.
Yes.
Mr. Sensabaugh testified to the court that he was willing to have a relationship with the child, only if it was confirmed he was the father. However, the potential granny has also been busy doing a home DNA test. A+ for the effort. And she brought an exhibit to the court, which went something like this.
I honestly believe that she would go forth with doing it and there wouldn't be no problems. I ended up waiting 8 weeks, 2 months for her to send it in. And the whole 2 months, she said, I sent it.
Had you done the swab? Had you sent the DNA
I did the
sample
swab.
in?
I did, and it sat for a minute.
It was a little obvious that the baby mama was on a streak with her lies. The last call to give the closure that Mr. Sensabaugh was looking for was that good old DNA envelope. So, Judge Lake, raising her eyebrows, went straight into the results.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Sensabaugh, you are not her father. Ms. Brown, you look relieved. Ms. Montoya, you look crushed.
It's not about being crushed. At the end of the day,
Knowing that Miss Martin, swindling the plaintiff, refused to fall for a paternity trap with possible car fraud in the mingle, Mr. Walls was suing the defendant for $2,500. An interesting start, right? Well, let's watch how it proceeds.
I worked across the street from where Dominique stayed, and when Dominique would walk out of her house going down the street, and I'm like, hey, how you doing? You know, trying to catch her attention. So, you know, I kept pursuing her. Hey, how you doing? You know what I'm saying? Can I call you? Eventually, I got tired of just standing across the street, asking her, can I call? I ran across the street and started walking down the street to the gas station with her.
Having the hots for Miss Walker, the potential father had his whole wooing game on, and after nailing the woman of his dreams and getting her pregnant, boom! Paternity denial. Sometimes I just don't get these sorts of men.
When I found out I was pregnant, I told him, but he talked about he wanted a DNA test. And I told him we can do a DNA test because he said that he saw me in the car with another guy around the same time I got pregnant. But it was true, but it was a family member.
No way. I know both her sisters. I ain't never seen this dude, period.
But hold up. Before we get to any conclusion, there was infidelity involved here. Mama just needed persistent pressing, and she confessed about cheating. And we all know how things go from there. We've been watching this show long enough.
When I was gone for them 30 days, she admitted to cheating.
Did you admit to cheating?
She
No, Your Honor.
I
No.
asked her.
No.
I said, when I was gone, have you been seeing anybody else? She said no. I asked her again, I asked her again. She finally said yes, she was talking to another guy when I was gone. That's what you said. That's what you admitted to me.
But wait. Like Mr. Walls was passionate about pursuing the defendant for an affair, he was also passionate about making her confess to cheating. And for this purpose, he brought an exhibit explaining how he caught her cheating.
I turn on her block. I look at the car in the driveway like, what the what? So I said, wait a minute. I goes all the way back around the corner, come back, slow down. I look like, no, that don't look like Dominique in that car. Like, that ain't Miss Walker. Like, no. So I said, forget it. I drive on around again. I'm on
You
around
on
again.
your third lap?
Yeah, I'm on my third lap now. I'm doing a Hollywood stop now like, yeah, that's her.
Wow, such commitment to proving yourself right. But the defendant was taking none of it. Nevertheless, she openly refused. That's some confidence, lady. But not a snowball's chance in hell the guy at the podium was gonna believe it. She had to explain this all to Judge Lake.
The car was in front of my house. He told me.
So you admit it? Right here, the car was in front of your house. And you was in the car, right?
I admit that, but I'm not about to admit that I was cheating because I was not cheating when I got.
Was there a man in the car?
Yes, it was. It was a family member.
Yeah, get them.
It was one of my family members.
Here's a fact. Mr. Plaintiff was already married with 5 kids and was in an open relationship with the defendant. Furthermore, the plaintiff had some concerns which added sugar, spice, and everything nice that would lead to paternity doubts.
You had pregnancy symptoms with all 5?
Yeah, pretty much.
You did?
Yeah.
Mr. Walls, our plaintiff, has said as part of his testimony that in his 5 other children, he would feel pregnancy-like symptoms. What is this thing?
It actually does exist, and it's called Cuvette syndrome.
However, their to and fro allegations were all over in the courtroom, making things more complicated for the defendant. So the last hope to get closure was to reveal whatever was hiding in that DNA envelope.
It has been determined by this court, Mr. Walls, you are not her father. Do you know who her father is?
Yeah.
Was it the guy in the car?
No.
He was still with me when I had that ultrasound done. Because I cried and I begged God to give me a sign, and 2 hours later, I got that. So that's why I'm mainly upset. You were there for the 25 minutes of pleasure. Well, it's been 9 months. It's been 9 months and I bought every diaper.
Losing the love of your life and this whole family denying your child is hard to endure. That's what Miss Cameron wants to end this dispute of 3 years ago. But the baby boy's auntie was persistent that her late brother didn't father baby Malachi, and the mommy was only after their money.
Just the whole situation of losing my brother as well. We lost him, and just the whole situation of her getting pregnant, it just doesn't add up.
You don't think this child is his?
I don't think it's his. She already receives the benefits for one child, and the other one, with the dates not adding up, I just feel that she's just not trying to work.
Baby mama apparently met the deceased when she was 19, and from that point, they were attached to the hip. It was love at first sight for these lovebirds, so much so that they got pregnant within a couple of months of meeting each other.
Like, he does look like me, because I guess I got strong genes, but he looks like Jackie.
So you have an older child together?
Yes.
And then you planned for the next one?
Yes. I wanted someone for my other child to play with. So I went and talked to Mr. Rathert, so he was like, okay, we can go ahead and try, just let's keep it under wraps.
Even though we found the whole tale a treat, Miss Melvin didn't believe one word coming out of the plaintiff's mouth. According to her, she had strong reasons to suspect Miss Cameron had not been entirely faithful in her relationship with her brother. Let's hear her reasons for it, shall we?
He had came to me it was a month before we found out she was pregnant and said that she had gave him an STD, and I work at an urgent care and I see a lot of stuff, so he told me. I said, are you sure he was like, man, I haven't done anything. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, go up there and get tested, take her to get tested, and he said they both got treated.
Apparently, Miss Cameron and Mr. Rathert planned a baby and they got pregnant. But before they could give this news to the family, poor Mr. Rathert passed away. That's tragic indeed. The deceased sister brought out the conception calendar to further substantiate her claim that the dates just don't match up. And she ended up having an interesting conversation with her brother.
I stopped taking my birth control on January 16th because we talked about it on the 14th. And that very next night is when I got pregnant. My son was born on October 17th. If you added that up, I would have got pregnant on January 17th. Maybe the dates was off. I don't know.
That's a huge discrepancy.
Now, the calendar told one story while the baby mama believed another one. She told the court the dates she believed were true. But they certainly didn't add up. Not good for her, as Judge Lake didn't believe in discrepancies.
There's another incident that was about a couple weeks before of her getting pregnant. She was creeping around the corner to get to a car which was with another man.
I was in love with Jackie. I would have never cheated on Jackie.
Next up, Miss Cameron came up with an ultrasound picture that she believed had the deceased face in the eyeball of the baby. Yep, you can't make this stuff up. While she believed it was a sign from the baby daddy, the defendant still didn't budge. See for yourselves.
I have an ultrasound picture right here. I know this might sound crazy, but I posted it on Facebook, and then people started commenting oh, there's somebody in the eyeball. I'm like, no, there's no way. I zoomed it in, and there is somebody. And I believe with all my heart that is a sign from Jackie saying that he was still with me when I had that ultrasound done.
Miss Melvin came forward with her evidence that had a statement from her mother. The mother couldn't join, but her statement was enlightening enough. According to that, she was positive that Miss Cameron cheated on her son, as she evidently saw him going on a date with someone. Yikes!
That did happen, and I told Mr. Rathert that I went out with him because I felt guilty. Even though nothing happened between me and him, I was looking for comfort because I was by myself at that time because that happened right after he went MIA somewhere, wherever he was at. Yes, it was a guy. I have a lot of guy friends.
The judge had heard enough of their testimonies, evidence, and witnesses. In this court, the only thing that holds factual value is the DNA result. Let's put all these guys and baby Malachi out of their misery and see the result.
It has been determined by this court, Miss Duhamel is related to Malachi Rathert.
Jesus. Thank you. Now, do you believe me? I was being honest with you.
Miss Cameron?
Yes.
It feels good to just finally have it.
Yes, it does.
Miss Anthony believed the defendant fathered her child, and he was obviously denying the paternity. Unshocking! However, baby daddy claimed the plaintiff pinned this baby on him after he took a certain step that definitely didn't involve her.
What has Mr. Pouchot done for your child?
Nothing. Not diapers, not wipes, not formula,
That's
not
only
anything.
because she told me that the child was
I'm getting to
mine.
that. I did tell him that the child was not his, but he was partying, and I was partying too, but once I found out I was pregnant, I put all those things aside.
Given the fact that Mr. Porkai didn't believe he was the biological father, it's safe to assume he wouldn't have stepped up to the role at all. Baby mama obviously didn't like that very much and told the court all the injustices he caused her, which was mostly her own doing.
Did you tell him he was the father at first, or that he wasn't?
He was there when I took the pregnancy test.
But
Your
she
Honor.
told me that I wasn't the father. Her ex-boyfriend was the father, that she was pregnant before she met me.
And now you say he's denying the baby.
Yes, ma'am, I did, and I understand that was me being in the wrong. That was 100%. Most of this is my fault.
So these guys had a party relationship where they both just partied up. They obviously threw caution to the wind. To heck with the consequences, right? But now reality was that there was a living, breathing baby. And so, the pregnancy news didn't sit too well with the supposed baby daddy.
I laid down and I thought about it. This man ain't gonna do nothing but party. This man ain't gonna take care of me or my child. He ain't gonna do nothing for me. So I decided what I thought was a good decision for my child. It was not the correct decision, and I understand that now.
And so once you felt like he was not going to stand up for the child and take care of the child, you decided to tell him he's not even the father.
Yes.
Time for the conception calendar to rise and shine. Oh yeah, April has been a good month for these guys, full of love and extracurricular activities. But both weren't on the same page regarding the conceived dates as well as the due dates. Same old he said, she said situation here, people. Nothing new.
I was trying to stay
No,
around
those
to
were
help her
before,
take
honey. Don't you
care
sit there
of
and
the
lie. That
child.
April
I
8th and the
help
April
her.
4th were before. That middle one was after.
Because I met
two were
you
before.
in late March. You supposedly got pregnant early March.
No, I did not supposedly get pregnant early March. My due date was December 18th. You need to learn some math, baby. We're gonna take you back to high school.
Now, at some point, their mutually benefited party situation came to an end. As it turned out, the defendant apparently two-timed Miss Anthony. And then he went ahead and got married. Yep, heard that right. She was obviously livid after that.
He cheated on me with his spouse now. That is how that happened.
Actually,
And he begged
I
me to
cheated
stay,
on my
and I
spouse with you.
And now you're married, Mr. Pouchot.
Yes, ma'am.
Look at that baby. How you gonna deny him? Look at his nose.
I only denied him
Look at
because
his
you told me
eyes.
it wasn't mine.
I know, and I'm sorry for that. That was me. But look at
So-
him. How you telling that he don't look like you?
Finally, Mr. Porcu's husband came forward and stated his case. And boy, did he share some interesting information about the baby mama. Miss Anthony believed she did what she did because of baby Matthew. But Mr. Porkai did not buy that.
Honestly, Your Honor, I wasn't there. My husband had gone away for a couple months, called Miss Anthony. She met me down, in fact, at the very same place that they met. Got a couple dollars off of her, whatever I needed to get from my husband. At the time, he wasn't my husband. That is the point where Miss Anthony told me to my face, the baby is not Harold's.
Now, hold on to your seats, fellas. It's about to get wild. The defendant wasn't at the hospital when the baby was born. However, there was another guy present there. Yep, according to the baby mama, this guy, though knew he wasn't the father, But the good old Facebook said something else.
Did he think Matthew was his child?
No, ma'am, he knew the whole time that he was not the father.
That's not what he was posting on Facebook.
Yes, because we decided to not go public with it. We decided to keep it between us and the
Isn't
few
Facebook
family.
public?
Yes,
We decided to not let everyone know that he wasn't the father.
Time for those messages that were submitted earlier to be analyzed. This was a text exchange between Mr. Porkguy's husband and Miss Anthony, and they were full of aggression. Apparently, the baby mama kept texting the defendant, and he ultimately gave the control over to his husband.
Your Honor, I did write those messages, but they were in response to 5 messages unanswered from my husband. She messaged my husband first on Facebook. Those messages were forwarded to me, and he asked me to ask her to stop. And I asked her several times nicely, please stop messaging him. And instead of stopping messaging him, she would message him and say, why do you gotta get your husband involved?
So Miss Anthony had been telling people that Mr. Harold wasn't the father, and she accepted that she indeed said that. But in doing so, the baby mama forgot another key piece of information, and the husband was all the more happy to tell the court about it. Wow!
You have openly declared to people that
You're right.
he may not be Harold's child. You have also declared to other people of your sexual trysts before Harold and
Trysts?
after, to include a 3-way right after your relationship with my husband.
Yep, you're right. Yeah, that did happen.
Boom.
That did happen, but that happened before and not after.
Time for this crazy ride to reach its final station, the DNA results. Baby Matthew's whole life was on the line. It was clear Mr. Porkgue wanted this kid to be his. So let's find what fate had in store for them.
It has been determined by this court. Mr. Pouchot, you are the father. That's the first time I've seen you smile today, Mr. Pouchot.
Loss of a son, palpable grief, added up with the potential child that the deceased may have left behind, and this becomes even more devastating. That's what this plaintiff experienced when the defendant turned up with a child at his son's funeral, claiming he fathered him. Now, she wanted some answers.
He had passed away and had been buried. It was 5 months before I learned any of this. And now there's this little boy who calls me Granny. I just need to make sure that he is indeed my grandson and a piece of Darnell left here on earth for me to love.
Better grab some tissues, people. It's gonna be a teary ride. So, according to Miss Gant, she and her son were not on the best of terms for quite some time, and she had no idea that this heartbreaking tragedy had even occurred. Yep, she had no clue that fate had robbed her of a son.
Well, Darnell was the love of my life. We had a rocky relationship, but we really loved each other. And at the time, that was the only person I was sleeping with.
Their relationship was toxic because they argued a lot, they fought a lot.
Yes, Your Honor. Me and Darnell did have a rocky relationship, but we really loved each other.
Time to shed light on how Miss Bryant and the late Mr. Gant came to be. Turns out these guys didn't have a smooth relationship, and Mother Gant attested to that fact as well, along with sharing another fascinating aspect of their relationship.
So tell me what happened when you found out you were pregnant.
I found out I was pregnant. I didn't know he had passed away. During my pregnancy, I had to go through it alone because I didn't know that I would never see him again. The last time I seen Darnell is when I told him that I was pregnant, and he said he knew.
Their rocky relationship went to the point where Miss Bryant told the baby daddy she was expecting, and then he pulled a no-show. She went through that journey alone, but what she didn't know was that Mr. Gant had actually passed away. While she narrated this, Mama Gant lashed out at her with her certain grievances.
How did you find out he passed away?
Child support had sent me a letter saying that he was deceased. So
But you didn't tell me any of this.
I didn't
know that you knew Darnell was dead.
I didn't. I tried to get in contact with
you just
her daughter.
said you got
I got in contact
so you
with her
knew
daughter.
He was dead before I did.
Next up, we got to hear some varied narratives from these guys. Yep, baby mama was adamant she got to know about the death through child support. However, the plaintiff wasn't too sure about that, and she shared how she got to know about it.
She already knew that he was dead. She didn't let my daughter know. She didn't let me know.
Wait, hold on, I want to understand this. Were you not speaking? Did you even know she was pregnant?
I didn't know she was pregnant. If she was having another child by my son, why wouldn't she let me know?
So, the defendant kept it all a secret. The million-dollar question was why? Why keep the pregnancy and even the death of the guy on the hush-hush from his family? This certainly didn't put Miss Bryant in the best of light, but still, Grandma Gant came through.
But I know without a shadow of my doubt in my heart that this is this man's son.
And I hope that
and I
he
know,
is
and
his son,
I'm not here to argue.
And it doesn't matter. Let me say this, and actually, you know this. I love Zion, and Zion needs a granny, and he has one.
Baby mama had been secretive, but then she rolled up with a newly born baby Zion to the Gant house and dropped this bomb on them while the family was preparing for the memorial service. Yeesh! Now that must have been something.
I didn't know Zion was born until Ashley came to the house while we were planning Darnell's memorial service. But when Ashley showed up to the house, she had this little newborn, and she told me this is Darnell's son. But when I looked at him, I didn't see Darnell.
It was clear as day all of these guys were suffering, but no more than baby Zion. And every child deserves a father. And if that isn't possible, then a family to give them that love. Time for the results to see whether Zion was related to the Gants or not.
It has been determined by this court. The percentage of relatedness between Eleanor Gant and 4-year-old Zion Bryant is 98.6%. You are related.
So good.